Alright, so we are back. Hopefully. Yeah, everything was good, to be honest. So we're back to being live. Another day that we're gonna have to just react to things, I guess. Just gonna make sure that everything is good. Yeah, make sure to always have the ability to look at chat. Well, there's probably not many people watching right now, but fuck it. I don't care. There's gonna be many times that I'm going to be streaming to absolutely no viewers at all. So, fuck it. It's part of growing, I guess. First month streaming, so I don't expect much. I expect to end up like fucking, I don't know, lazy, I guess. So. So, right here we have just a bunch of videos. I don't know which one to look at, to be honest. That's just a stray dog. Oh no, those are deer. I actually have deer outside. That's nice. It's a beaver dam that's that big. Alright.
Disney and Pixar's Elio is now available.
Allow me to adjust your gravity.
Alright. So let me just get something going. Hello. Dude, I need you too. There you go. Alright. So we're gonna be yeah. So we're gonna be reacting to the beaver dam is so huge you can see it from space by Climate Heroes.
A Canadian beaver family has created their own watery kingdom. They've built the biggest beaver dam the world has ever seen. The walls are not very tall, but the structure is more than twice as long as the Hoover Dam. It is so massive that it can even be seen from space. Back in 2007, researchers found the beaver dam by coincidence while analyzing satellite images. Today, scientists are intentionally on the lookout for beaver dams. The rodents' work even grabbed the attention of NASA because these dams seem to have a huge impact on the landscape. But how is it that little rodents with a fondness for wooden sticks can have such an influence? Are they really rewilding areas just by doing their thing? And in what sense is their engineering work important for us humans? Beavers are capable of impressive architectural work when humans aren't holding them back. That's what beaver researchers suspected for many years. In 2023, NASA stepped in and teamed up with them to finally measure the impact of beavers on their surroundings. The team started tracking how beavers transformed the landscape. Their research started in Idaho. A significantly high number of beavers live here. And there's a special reason for that.
They're so cute.
A few hundred years ago, beavers were nearly extinct all over North America. Humans had hunted them for their fur and castoreum, until the species was left in only a few places. One of them was Idaho. But here, the beavers also came into conflict with settlers. In 1948, the Idaho Fish and Game Department decided to relocate them to remote areas instead of killing them.
A load of beaver for the mountain.
76 beavers were put into wooden boxes and relocated by parachute to the Chamberlain Basin.
By parachute?
The adventure went well. All but one of them had a safe landing.
Now into the air and down they swing.
Back then,
Dude, look how
nobody
you fucking
knew
did it. They actually just threw them off planes and then just told them like, yo, good luck. Go live now. Nobody actually fucking did this. Who had the idea to just throw them off planes? Why couldn't they just like drop them off in a car like normal people? Why did they want to fucking throw them off planes into a parachute? What happened to the parachute afterwards? Or the box?
how huge the beaver's impact would be.
And a most
go.
unusual and novel trip ends for Mr. Beaver.
We definitely had a rough
Today, more than 75 years later, NASA analysts can see the effect of all those parachuted beavers. Shortly after the translocation, something remarkable happened to those remote areas. The beavers transported there had started building dams, breeding, and storing food. The areas became lusher and greener than the neighboring land. Bog Creek, which received many animal packages from the sky, became so verdant that the greenery clearly stood out from space. Satellite imagery shows that in 2018, during massive forest fires, these beaver-rich areas were resilient. Beavers turned out to be efficient mini firefighters.
The best firefighters? That's so cool.
Studies also showed that the beaver presence boosted the diversity of plants by 1/3.
1/3.
So,
Damn,
in a nutshell, beavers make their natural surroundings more resilient just by doing what they do best, building dams. It might look like beavers are trying to put their dams everywhere, but in fact, they are very choosy about where they build.
Actually,
Following the sound of running water, a beaver will search heavily wooded areas to find a medium-sized stream that's not too steep or too deep. Then it combines vegetation, mud, and sticks to create a bank along the stream's edge. Using its teeth, which are 3 times stronger than those of any other mammal this size, the beaver chews nearby logs into sturdy sticks, rolls them into the water, and spikes them into the mudbed. Everything is anchored.
okay, but why do they even build dams in the first place? Like, is there a specific reason that they know they're gonna help that certain area that they do it? The more I think about it, it doesn't really make sense that they build a whole dam, especially one that is so big that you can see it from NASA.
With heavy rocks that the beaver brings to the site.
I'm guessing small ones, but the one that is that big.
The larger the dam, the larger the beaver's territory. Beaver dams come in several shapes and sizes,
Look at that.
but none of them stops the water entirely. They all just slow it down. The water eventually finds its way around the sticks and through the dams, so beaver dams change the water flow just enough for it to spread out, pool, soak the soil, and create wetlands. Remember the world's biggest beaver dam. The generation of beavers that maintain it have created a pond containing roughly 70,000 cubic meters of water. That's 1,600 hockey rinks of water.
Holy shit, dude.
And what's the beaver's reward for this hard work? By converting a stream into a pond, beavers are creating the perfect surroundings for their family. Their webbed hind feet and flattened tails serve as efficient paddles and rudders, which makes them way faster in water than on land. So, a deeper water course means that the animals can move more efficiently. Deeper water means also more safety for their family and their house. Beavers don't live inside their dams. Dams are more like their workplace. Their actual home is the Beaver Lodge, which is located behind the dam. Beaver lodges may look
So they make a house outside of their work area, so they can just like commute to work whenever they want to. That's so nice. A very hard-working animal and firefighter. I love beavers now.
like a mess of sticks and logs, but they are complex and well structured. The entrances are underwater to keep young ones safe from predators. Above is a suite of rooms. There's a mud room where they can dry off, a family room where they eat and sleep. The roof is kept loose to let in fresh air. And as a finishing touch, they excavate the mud from the shore of the site so that their home will be totally surrounded by water. The beaver channels also connect bodies of water, increasing the biodiversity areas between water and land, and their lodges often serve as nesting sites for various bird species.
That's so nice.
But it's not only the
So they even help make cribs to birds, pretty much. So they can lay their eggs, they can just put them inside of a beaver's dam work. That's so cool, dude. But my question now is, how do they survive in the winters? If, let's say, the lake freezes, what did they do then?
Rodent itself and other wildlife that
I don't know how
profits.
cool it gets in Idaho.
Humans also benefit from beaver construction projects.
How do we benefit?
Dam building beavers are helping stave off some of the worst effects of climate change, droughts and floods. A professor and beaver expert at Boston University says that beaver activity may be also the most cost-effective method of creating functional wetland systems. Their dams help control water levels in rivers and streams. This is helpful during big rains because it stops flooding. Plus, it keeps water around during dry times, which is great for plants, animals, and people. The wetlands they create serve as effective carbon sinks. And as already mentioned, beavers also help prevent wildfires. They make the land around them wetter. When wildfires happen, these wet areas act as natural barriers, slowing down the fire and keeping it from spreading too fast. So, in short, beavers aren't just furry architects. They're also true climate heroes. That's why today, beaver translocations take place not to get rid of them, but to preserve them and nature. And good for them, humans have learned how to relocate them in an appropriate way. Not with parachutes, but with
I don't know
horses.
who had that fucking idea, dude.
Want to meet more wild climate?
Dude, that was an amazing video. I did not know that beavers did that much, but also I don't know who decided to throw them off an airplane to this day. They found better ways, but why did they decide that it was better to throw them off a plane? In a fucking wooden box. Because then they would have to like find a way to get out of the box later on, so I don't know why they even did that. But anyways, moving on. Just stop recording. All right. Alright, so we have a few options that we can look at. We have transmitting the Amazon red to images of our world, or how 13 rabbits became 600 million. I think I like this one better.
Yes, this is why I switched to injection-free weight loss.
I was eating healthy, working out every day.
In 18...
Alright, let's get to recording again. Alright, so we're going to be reacting to how people in 1999 imagined the year 2000 by Barry and Nearly Interesting.
In 1999, as the world was awaiting the arrival of the 20th century, a group of French artists were asked to imagine what life would be like 100 years into the future, in the year 2000. They accepted the challenge and they took it seriously. After all, they were told that their work would be displayed at the Paris World Exhibition in 1900. They talked to scientists, businessmen and thinkers of the day to compile a list of innovations that could possibly be in use by the year 2000. The vast majority of the images that I'm about to show you were made in 1899. Some of their predictions are laughable, some are almost right, and some are surprisingly accurate, and some are ahead of our time now. Never mind 2000. These images would go on to be used as cigar box inserts, and then for 70 years they were completely forgotten. Until the 1980s, when Isaac Asimov acquired a set of them and published them in a 1986 book entitled Future Days, a 19th century vision of the year 2000. The images that I'm about to show you show just how far humanity has come. Things that are normal and commonplace for us today couldn't even have been imagined in 1899, but they had a really good shot at it, and in some instances they almost got it right. Please sit back and enjoy L'an 2000, literally in the year 2000. This is how they envisioned sea travel. Underwater and powered by whales. Isambard Kingdom Brunel had already solved iron-hulled ships, powered by steam at this point. This is a poor start for their future predictions. Maybe the previous picture was a pleasure cruise underwater. It looks like everyone has hopped off the whale-powered sub for a game of underwater croquet. This is entitled Torpedo Plane. 4 years before the Wright brothers had developed powered, controlled, heavier-than-air flight, we were already predicting that war would be fought in the air. Sadly, they got this one right.
Yeah, that is kind of nice that they did at least. That's kind of nice that they at least got one right. But if you look at this plane, it looks horrible. But now we have like way better, I guess, aircraft. Yeah, now we have way better aircraft than they even imagined. That can do way more fucking damage than whatever this is. But they got explosions right. We do cause some pretty heavy fire with these aircrafts.
This one is entitled Battle Cars, but they've correctly predicted the armoured battle tank.
Armoured battle tank. Yeah, they got this one too.
They're along the right lines here. We do have a lot of labour-saving gadgets these days, but having all of your beauty needs met at the flick of a switch is still some way off.
Yeah, it's a little bit off.
Oh dear, it looks like the croquet game has been interrupted by a giant octopus. They seem to think that we'll be spending a lot of our time underwater at the turn of the millennium. At first glance, this looks crazy. The teacher is feeding the machine with books, and the knowledge is being fed into their brains electronically. On the same day as I'm writing this script, Elon Musk's Neuralink has just received FDA approval for human trials of his brain interface. Elon predicts that in years to come, we'll have AI and the internet in our brains via a neural lace. This is scarily accurate and still...
I mean, honestly, if you were able to put a shit ton of information in your brain in a matter of seconds, I think a lot of people would actually use that to their advantage. To try to make money one way or another, they're going to try to make money out of this. If they're able to learn an entire book by memory, who wouldn't do it, to be honest? You won't have to study anymore. I think education will become way, way fucking cheaper. I think education will become way cheaper if you were able to just kind of download the answers in your head. That would be kind of nice.
Some way off, but it will come.
This one, they might get it right, but just not yet. Maybe in 100 more
years. This is entitled A House Rolling Through the Countryside. Well, we did have RVs in 2000, so it's partially correct.
It's kind of right.
We don't sit on balconies and roof terraces whilst on the move, though.
It kind of looks like a movie restaurant.
They predicted sound without the need for someone to be there playing instruments. It looks like the conductor is flicking a switch and machines are playing the instruments. We're underwater again, and this time it's a day out at the races.
Can just have a DJ.
This gentleman is receiving his voicemails in the morning. They're right about voicemail, but wrong about the delivery method. His manservant seems to be bringing him a gadget, which will be played on his desk-bound audio device. I'm going to give this one partial credit.
They didn't have phones back then. They had... It is the year 1899. So they didn't have like telephones at all or like landlines or anything like that. That was like probably 50, 60 years ago. So giving like a voicemail, because before they used, because we, because before they used to use like actually handwritten letters for you to talk to somebody. You had to deliver them and then you just take some kind of, and then it would take like a few days for it to get delivered. So a voicemail, yeah, he kind of got that one right, but a little bit different.
Late Victorians imagined us spending a lot of time in the air.
Those one could not work at all. If you crash in the air, you're done.
They envisioned law enforcement with high-speed chases on powered bikes. We don't have the inbuilt riot shield, so again, partial credit.
You're not that far off to me.
Game, you're not ready for it.
They predicted advancements in how microscopes would change our view of the world.
Holographs. I mean, yeah, they got this one right. No, we do actually have these, but like, not for microscopes, I guess. But we could potentially have for microscope. You kind of just have to put a picture of it, and it would work the same way. But yeah, they did not get this one wrong.
They predicted that we'd all have means of personal flight. These thieves are using their ability to fly for nefarious purposes, robbing nests perched high on rocks.
That would be cool.
They thought that you could go into a clothes shop and have your clothes made on the spot, just for you.
Do we have that? I don't think so. We can have a tailor, but it would take time.
This one is entitled Intensive Breeding. The eggs are fed in at the top and chicks are delivered via a chute.
I mean, I'll give it to them. It was creative.
Again, this is a prediction of aerial military capabilities. He's a solo advance party observing the enemy from the air. This is how they saw the future kitchen. They're right about the mod cons and the labour-saving devices, but this one looks more like a lab.
I have no idea. The cooking probably not.
If we're all going to be flying, then your
Hold on.
one looks more like a lab.
Are we trying to predict Breaking Bad? Is that what they were trying to do?
If we're all going to be flying, then you're going to need the aviation police. Here we have a routine traffic stop.
Police.
Fishing for seagulls whilst underwater. Maybe they're predicting climate change and the rising of the seas. I'm giving this a partial credit. Farms are now industrialised with incredibly efficient machinery. This farmer is managing his crops with just a flick of a switch. Maybe in 20 years, with the development of AI and robotics, this image will be even more accurate.
So if you think about how much labor farmers used to do back in the day, because everything would have to be like hand done. So picking every single like carrot, you would have to do it by hand, or have like a very big amount of workers. No, you have to have a big amount of. No, fucking can't speak. You have to have a big staff of workers for you to get the fields done. But now it's kind of like more like trucks and stuff like that, so that helps them out a lot.
This guy is printing a house. Incorrect for the year 2000, but spot on for 2023. The architect is pressing a button and the house gets printed. Technology that is available today.
Well, they actually got this one right too. Holy shit. They were not off at all.
They predicted electric trains.
And once again, they're not wrong. There is electric trains, I think.
No more back-breaking work for this housemaid. No, with just a tug on this brass bar, all of the cleaning is taken care of with this device. Again, they were way off the mark for 2000, but in 2023 we do have robot vacuum cleaners, so partial credit.
Oh yeah, so the year 2000. Oh yeah, they got this one right too. Innovation.
We're we're back underwater, and we've clearly found a way to make seahorses so big that we can actually ride them.
You ride like horses, but
This guy is dictating his letters. His speech has been converted to text and then printed out on a printer in his office. Again, they were wrong for the year 2000, but spot on for 2023. Speech-to-text technology developed by the likes of Google and Apple has made this scene a reality.
that's so nice that you actually have that. You know the thing about it? That's such a good invention.
They're having a video call. None of these predictions suggest internet communications or that iPads would be a thing. They just knew that this sort of thing would happen someday, and they were absolutely right.
Yeah. Damn.
This modern house is warm and cosy because that's radium in the fireplace. Mercifully, this prediction did not come to pass. They thought that all of your barbering needs could be met with the flick of a switch and with a terrifying gadget wielding a blade. Again, mercifully, this didn't happen.
This Hulu Plus Live TV lineup is stacked. Let's meet the All-Stars. Live TV.
That's one of the things that I can't really... Yo, that's one of the things that I can't really imagine being replaced by AI, a barbershop. There's no way that barber gets replaced by AI. Just because there's going to have to be too many details that go on about it. I can see surgery being replaced with some type of robot that helps you do it precisely. But a barber, your head will be moving all the time, so I don't think it's possible.
Please allow me just 15 seconds to plug this channel. Very near, please can... Electric rollerblades. I'm putting this in the "why don't we have them by now" category.
We do have, like,
This guy is listening to his
skateboards.
newspaper. They envisioned a time where you didn't need to read the news. No, you could just sit back and have the news read to you. They got the delivery method wrong, but other than that, they were, of course, spot on.
Yeah, we're spot on.
They predicted huge advancements in astronomy with huge telescopes of ever-increasing size. I'm giving this an A+.
That looks nice.
Mid-air lawn tennis, sadly, never seemed to take off.
That would be such a cool invention.
This is how air travel was envisioned. The boat, they reckoned, could be made lighter than air. It's incredible to think that just 4 years after this was painted, we had invented the first aeroplane.
No way. I mean, we do have planes.
This one dates from 1910. It clearly depicts the Wright Flyer, invented in 1903. They predicted that you'd be able to rescue people at sea from air. We wouldn't do it in aeroplanes, but they were, of course, spot on.
They got it once again. These engineers back in the day,
They thought
like,
getting
they
the
had the right
post to
ideas.
people in rural communities would be much better from the air.
Once again, I don't know how that would work.
The aviation police again. They're making a mid-air arrest.
Damn, he's putting a gun with him.
This prediction must have seemed so obvious in 1899. Clearly, hunting would be easier from the air. They thought everyone would be flying in the year 2000, and that includes the fire service. But is this really so crazy? Why couldn't we now give a fireman a jetpack and a long hose for those really tall buildings? I'm putting this in the category of, it's a good idea, so why don't we do it?
Yes, I don't think it would work.
They were clearly misinformed about how slowly an aeroplane could travel. This pilot is just swinging past his local cafe for a much-needed glass of claret.
You just imagine that. Airplane going down low.
They knew aeroplanes would be a thing in 2000, and this is how they envisioned an airport. They thought that there would be an aero cab station on virtually every street. And finally, fighting on the land, sea and air. Sadly, they were absolutely correct.
Oh, it's kind of weird. I feel like they just shoot at that and then they would take it down. Oh, and they have the first time too.
I'm sure if you...
Dude, that was such a cool video. The engineers back then, they knew what was needed in society. They knew what they needed to work on. And I'm actually very happy that the people that we have today were actually able to pull it off. Because they did actually bring a lot of these inventions to life. So that's very cool. And now I'm actually curious, what do we think will be a great invention for 100 years from now? 800 years from now, what can we have? I'm trying to think of one. I want to say like medicine that doesn't age you as much or just stops aging. That's one thing that I would like to have in 100 years. I'll say maybe cure the cancer in 100 years. I think that's doable. 100 year span, 2125. That sounds actually very weird to say out loud. The year 2100. What else? What else can we think about? I'm guessing some type of way that we don't have to use oil anymore. Some type of car. We already have electric cars, but now we can have maybe other type of car that maybe can run on salt water. That would be nice. A saltwater car. It'd be very cheap. Just go to the ocean, get just a bottle. But we're gonna end it there for this video. Alright. What else do we need? Is the stream lagging? I think it might be. Alright. Fuck it. Alright. Well, we can look at some videos, but right now I don't know which one to look at. Alright.
With ScribeHow.com, you can create documentation in minutes, not hours. Until now, it took forever to create.
The word.
Alright. Circle reacted to how languages die by other words.
The word extinct might bring to mind dinosaurs and dodo birds, or saber-toothed cats and woolly mammoths. But animals aren't the only natural thing at high risk of extinction in the wild. Languages are too. It's estimated that of the approximately 7,000 languages worldwide, 90% are spoken by less than 100,000 people, and some have as few as a single speaker remaining. Language death occurs when the last remaining native speaker of a language passes away. But how does it get to the point where a language's continued existence is reliant on a single person? How do languages die or go extinct? Let's investigate why this happens and why you should care about it. I'm Dr. Erica Brzozowski, and this is Other Words.
Other words.
First things first, languages that have speakers who learn the language as their native tongue are known as living languages or modern languages. I'm speaking in one right now, English, and maybe you know one of the thousands of other languages alive and well in the 21st century. On the opposite end of the spectrum of linguistic life, well, it's a little more moribund. However, it's not as stark as the difference between life and death. Like endangered species, languages have stages of dying that may or may not be reversible. A dead language is one that, despite no native speakers, does have second language speakers or is used in written form. For example, Latin hasn't been en vogue since the fall of Rome in 476 CE, but plenty of people, that's relative, can speak Latin fluently, like my middle school Latin teacher. While not spoken natively, it is used for liturgical and academic purposes. Other dead languages include Sanskrit, Sumerian, Ancient Greek, and Gothic. A dormant language is a type of dead language that, while lacking native speakers, serves as a symbol of ethnic identity to a particular community. Eyak is a dormant Na-Dene language historically spoken by the Dahoknu people who reside in south-central Alaska. The last native speaker, Marie Smith-Jones, passed away in 2008. But two non-Eyak linguists, a Frenchman named Guillaume Ledouy, who had learned about the language online at age 12 and taught himself from Eyak language materials, and University of Alaska professor emeritus Michael Krause, spearheaded efforts to pass Eyak on to the next generation. While
But I think that would be so useless. Why would you want to keep a language that no one speaks? You'll be the only person that will speak it, and other people will be wondering what you're saying. Like, just imagine like starting a, I don't know. Just imagine you write a letter, right? And it's in the native language of Eyak. Right, it's in the native language of Eyak. What would happen? Like, they will have to pretty much decipher what you're even saying, so it's not even worth learning. If you want to learn a language that many people use, no one that nobody uses. Like the ones that I think are mainly spoken or mainly need to be spoken, at least in America, are Spanish and English. If you know Spanish and English, you can get by majority of the world. You have all of North America and all of South America, except for like Portuguese in Brazil, or maybe France in some little parts of South America. But besides that, you have a very big access that people are able to understand you. So it doesn't make sense to learn a language that nobody speaks, in my opinion.
While it does remain dormant, Ledoui's example showed the community that it was indeed possible to revitalize Eyak as a living, spoken language. Dead languages tend to maintain their dead or dormant status without native speakers, but there's one noteworthy exception. Hebrew was long considered a dead language, only used in liturgy and literature from around the 2nd century CE until major revitalization efforts beginning in the late 1800s. Now there are over 5 million native speakers and 9 million speakers total, an incredible comeback in language revival. An extinct language is one.
That was an exception because it's kind of related to Jesus. The Hebrew language, yeah, because it's in the Bible. I'm pretty sure they use in like Middle Eastern countries too. So yeah, it does make sense why they would revive. It does make sense why would they try to. Oh my God, I can't speak. It does make sense why they would try to bring it back because there's people that actually want to get to the bottom of the religion that they're pursuing.
with no remaining speakers or written use. Unlike the genetic resurrection in Jurassic Park, an extinct language is unlikely to ever be resurrected from any surviving tidbits if they even exist. This might be because of lack of interest or, more likely, lack of resources. Gaelic, the Celtic language of the Gauls, went extinct in the 3rd century CE, and because of no written resources or content, is gone forever. But at least 2 Celtic languages have defied the odds. Both Cornish, of Cornwall, and Manx, of the Isle of Man, have, based on language revitalization efforts, gotten their UNESCO language endangerment classification upgraded from extinct to critically endangered.
Oh, wow.
Webster store.
30 chairs, non-squeak. 15 non-wobble.
Webster store.
It makes sense that when there aren't any more speakers, a language gets lost. But how does it get to that point? Language endangerment is generally the result of language shift, which, as the name suggests, refers to the process in which a population changes or shifts from using one language to using another. Intergenerational language shift happens when the language a parent generation speaks does not get passed down to the child generation, who instead acquires another language. This is very common in children of immigrants, where the children learn the language of the majority population around them instead of the language of the homeland. For example, my mother grew up speaking Taiwanese at home, and she was also required to learn the majority language, Mandarin, in school, since leaving Taiwanese with her siblings, and I never learned it at all, having grown up in the US surrounded by English. Though we do code switch a bit between English and Mandarin, as a family we speak primarily English. That's language shift at the individual level, but when it happens to an entire community, a language can be lost. Language maintenance requires intergenerational transmission. So when the intergenerational transmission stops, then the speakers have fully shifted to another language. In northern Chile, the Kunsa language of the indigenous Licanante people of the Atacama Desert became replaced by Spanish in all sectors due to language repression, where speakers were not just encouraged to speak Spanish, but actively discouraged and even punished for speaking Kunsa. Political factors like governmental policies in language education.
I honestly, even though that happens, that is sad that they kind of force you to change your language, but it benefited the entirety of South America because everybody can understand each other. And everyone can kind of relate in Spanish countries to one another in terms of their origins of having Spanish. In terms of having Spanish people that took over their land. Now everybody speaks Spanish, so that's kind of good that now we can all kind of communicate with each other, but it is kind of sad that their entire people got kind of killed for it or oppressed.
Can and have actively suppressed minority languages in favor of the majority dominant language. Without institutional support, marginalized languages have few resources to keep educational initiatives going. On the Isle of Man, Manx had been replaced by English because of changes in language attitude. At the height of tourism, islanders began raising their children in English for fear that their language was useless in economic mobility, and it held negative associations of poverty and lack of education. Language shift can also be caused by speech community migration. The move from rural to urban areas takes people out of their small speech communities, where they're forced to adopt the dominant language in order to fit in both socially and in terms of job prospects. Besides language shift, the other main reason for language endangerment is rapid speaker death, which occurs through a calamity such as genocide, disease, or a natural environmental disaster. In our globalized world, everyone speaking the same language and understanding each other might sound pretty great, like the beginning of a utopia. And a lot of people don't find value in learning a language that only a handful of other people know. But the accelerated rate of language loss the world is currently undergoing is a blow to us all. Research suggests that around 3,000 of the world's languages might disappear in the next 100 years, which amounts to about 1 every 2 weeks, a language a fortnight. This is catastrophic to our cultural diversity. When a language is lost, cultural traditions tied to that language also disappear, from songs to remedies to local ecological and geographical knowledge. For instance,
I mean, I think it would kind of benefit the entire society if everyone kind of spoke the main languages instead of ones that are unknown. For example, in my country, I'm from Ecuador, so if some like a native language that we have in Ecuador. There's like probably a few, but the one that is kind of like the most popular is Quechua. But only a small population of Ecuador actually knows how to speak Quechua, and it's not really mainly used because the one that is mainly used is in Spanish. Because you won't find anything to read in Quechua, so it's not really being practiced. So there's no point in using it, and it helps. It helps the entire society that everyone speaks one language because it's just easier to communicate to people. If everyone speaks the main language that everyone just kind of agrees to speak. So I think it's pretty useful to just have, I guess, the least amount of language as possible because it just kind of makes it easier for everyone.
The Seri of Sonora, Mexico have a whole vocabulary and agricultural knowledge around eelgrass, which is the only grain from the sea that is known to be used as a human food source. Without the Seri, that knowledge would disappear. Language loss can also be seen as a crisis of social identity, as who we are is grounded in the language we speak, and there are physical ramifications as well. Research suggests that the maintenance and continued use of indigenous languages has a positive impact on health, and that there's a strong correlation between language revitalization efforts and improved health outcomes in indigenous communities. Maintaining and revitalizing languages is key to understanding the rich, diverse human experience on Earth in terms of both history and culture. Until her death in 2022 at age 93, ethnographer Cristina Calderon, the last native speaker of Yagan, an indigenous language of southern Chile with no written form, dedicated herself to the preservation of her language. Her work resulted in audio recordings, language workshops, and even transcribed Yagan stories, with the underlying goal of one day revitalizing the language. She knew that even if a language dies, it's still possible to be reborn in generations down the line. Speakers who learn the language as their...
Dude, that is kind of sad that those names were forgotten and they're kind of like gone. But then again, I would be on the side that says the least amount of languages, the better the communication to the people.